Hours with JB. Let's talk. What up, y'all? About to hit the park, get busy. The goal for today is 100 Mike Tysons, and I'm gonna work on a little back. I want to say it's called Russian back twist or something like that. I'll try to shoot some content and show you all, give you all a visualization rather on what those entail. Nonetheless, just dropped the kids off, all 4 kids. So I am in dad mode as of the moment. Thus, I'm starting to reflect on my current position, my current title, and what that title as well as position entails. You understand what I'm saying? It requires a great deal of patience. It requires a great deal of excellence, and it requires a great deal of professionalism, right? Structure, if you will. I have 4 kids, so thus I have to move like a general moves at all points in time. You understand what I'm saying? In other words, I have to make sure everything is sturdy from top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side. You know what I mean? And with that being said, I find myself biting my tongue a lot, but I do find myself taking more mental note of things and addressing those particular things when the time is right, as well as in a professional matter. You understand what I'm saying? And all of this is growth, right? For a black man especially, right? With braids, tats, etc. I know how society in particular views people of my caliber, right? More so from a physical standpoint. So with that being said, I'm even more intentional, right? Instead of using those skewed visualizations, let's say, I take those visualizations and I strive my best to flip it, right? I make it my duty to move as militant as possible and as correct as possible, right? From the top to bottom when it comes to the tribe. And I realize that a lot of that work starts with me as well as other people who I deal with on a daily basis, right? Or who I don't deal with, or who may have known me before. You see what I'm saying? I'm morphing into something extravagant, right? I'm morphing into something that is phenomenal. And in order for that morphing to occur, in order for the trajectory to remain intact, I have to consistently chip away at me. I have to consistently chisel away at Jaquan Businessman Bailey and who he is. And even with that being said, I'm still finding myself along the way, because you got to think, man, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I really want to tell my story and shed light on certain things, but I will say this. My level of patience is increasing drastically, right? I get tested on a daily basis, sometimes weekly basis, right? And this is me in my personal life, right? This is me outside of my household even. And with those tests come results, right? Now, whether those results are good or bad, that is up to me, right? Because ultimately I give people power, right? And if I'm giving power to people that are operating on lower frequency, then the joke is on me. You understand what I'm saying? So thus, it's to the point where I'm starting to get a bit excited when somebody tests me, because it's like, damn, let me see how I could keep my composure and remain poised in this particular moment. Because the more I do that, the more stand up I become, the more of a giant I become even, right? And the more I represent for black folks. Whew, I digress. The market opens in about an hour or so. Memory stocks are down. We're going to try to shoot some content and get into that. There's a lot, I've seen that happening. There's a lot that I want to say. There's a lot that I want to share, because things are happening so fast, so rapidly for me, and as much as I love it, I need guidance at this point in time. I need a therapist at this point in time. I need a mentor at this point in time. I need mentees at this point in time. But again, at this point in time, I'm seasoned, so thus I know not to rush the process, right? And to just stay in the pocket, right? Stay in this zone, stay in this element, because from certain perspectives, it's happening faster than I expected, but from other instances, it's happening slower than I anticipated as well. So thus, I'm always going back and forth and back on, damn, things are going good, things are moving slow, things are going good, things are moving slow. You know, and I guess that's just what life is about, right? Hence the peaks and valleys. So thus, I just strive to be the best that I could be, man. Every single day, I strive to wake up and put my best foot forward. You understand what I'm saying? I see the vision, always have, but again, I'm starting to become so astronomical that sometimes I get not overwhelmed, right? Sometimes I get overwhelmed at everything, and I just would love to see the puzzle in its entirety. Now I could see bits and pieces of the puzzle, and I could see this piece over here, this piece over here, but this piece may be turned upside down, this piece may be tilted to the... So thus, again, that could become overwhelming, because how do I fix the puzzle so that I can see, right? Because the moment I see the puzzle in its whole, right? The moment I see the puzzle in its entirety, then I know I could expedite my tribe's process. I know that I could change my tribe's life even more, because that's my ultimate goal, right? And again, I don't get it right every day. I make mistakes, right? Sometimes I get straight A's, sometimes I may fail, sometimes I may pass with a D, right? Pause. But with that being said, again, beloved, I always put my best foot forward. I always push to the max that positive energy into the universe. I always think back to where I was. I always pray to remain grateful, to remain humble, to remain mindful of this life that is not permanent, and also knowing that everything that's before my very eyes could change, you know, at any given point in time. So it's like I'm always bracing for the unknown, let's just say, while striving to enjoy the moment, while still attempting to jump ahead. Because the part of success that a lot of people don't speak about is the things that may seem minute to the average individual, but those minute things could easily turn drastic, right? As Jadakiss once said, what did he say? End quote. If you don't sweat the small things, they become drastic, right? Conversely, the 48 laws of power will tell you, by acknowledging a petty problem, you give it existence. You understand what I'm saying? So I say all of that to say, you want to find that common ground and thus balance yourself out as possible and ask yourself what's worth it and what's not. You understand what I'm saying? And does this serve the higher purpose? Does this serve the main objective? Is this giving me life or depreciating me? You understand what I'm saying? Listen, man, I got to hit that gym. Well, the park, rather. We're going to do some Mike Tyson's again, work on some back. And we're going to get busy, man. We're going to strive to get busy. Again, I want to be more transparent with you all, but a lot of things are happening fast and in real time, and I'm not one to announce my moves prior to them happening, right? And again, the support level, the community even is not where I would like it to be for me to release more of what's taking place on this side. Pardon self if that was long-winded. Listen, man, stay blessed, stay positive, stay prosperous, count your blessings, love on your loved ones, lead by example, and change the narrative on what it means to be black. In other words, put black excellence at the forefront of everything.